Hello everybody, my name is Dimitri with Serg Supply, and today we are going to be doing part one of a two-part video on adding an outlet. Let's dig right in. In this first part of the video, we are just going to be putting together the outlet. I'm going to be showing you what wiring I use, how I choose it, and all of that good stuff in preparation for feeding this outlet in our van. I'll give you guys a little backstory on why we need the outlet in a little bit, but basically this is just going over the preparation part. Part two of the next video will be going over the actual installation. It's long enough that I know none of you are going to be sitting on the toilet for 30 minutes, so we may as well break this up and make it entertaining for everybody. Here we are at the back of the van, and just real quick, I want to do a full video walkthrough of the interior now that we're just about wrapped up. I will not get into the details of the build just yet, so hang tight. Our power system lives in here, and it's already set up for 110 volt for 2 outlets. Here's the outlet in question that I had to crawl on my hands and knees to get to through this garage. And we're gonna walk around here real quick, show you what's cooking on the kitchen side, no pun intended. There's the kitchen, and realistically, sometimes we put an outlet here. I really don't want to do that this time, mostly because it's kind of annoying to have it there, and I don't want it I don't want to have to rip all the walls out again. I think the more realistic place for us to put it's actually going to be on this wall right here on the side. This makes more sense for me because it's out of the way. The wires won't get in the way of anything. I can plug some things in and drop them at the bottom. More importantly, if I need to use my laptop again, I can plug it in from the side and I can set it down here and use it on my bench as the good Lord intended. Now for this to happen, I'm going to need to run a wire all through that wheel well box, through this kitchen, behind this fridge, and through here. Use a multi-tool to cut my opening for my outlet. It's going to be a real blast. But I think the first step here, before we do anything else, is to roughly measure how much wire we're going to need. So assuming I start back there, it's going to be about 6 feet through this cabinet into here. And then it's going to be another 6 feet. It's actually 60 inches, 5 feet, but there's going to be some front and back movement. So I'm going to assume we have 6 feet here, 6 feet here, 3 feet up to run the wire to where the outlet's going to be. And then if you do the math there, I'm at 15 feet. And our general rule of thumb is we always add 5 feet to whatever we think it's going to be because there's going to be some depth involved. The wire's going to have to come out and plug into something. So 20 feet is where I'm at right now. 20 feet of 110 cable. Your next question naturally is, okay, what now? How do I go from here? I'll walk you through it. Okay, this next part is pretty critical. As you know, we're very anal about safety here, always safety, safety, safety. And the next kind of step in the process is deciding how thick should the wire be? What gauge should it be? I have plenty of videos going over wiring. It's getting a little annoying here. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but tinned and braided, or at the very least just tinned wire. Don't use bare copper stuff. Don't go to Home Depot and get Romex you'd use for your house. That is a very bad idea. Things will burn down. So we are going to plug it into an ABYC calculator. We're using boathow2.com on my cell phone today, and this may be flipped for you, but you put in, come on baby, let's see if it'll work. You put in basically how long the wire is going to be, how many amps you're expecting, standard voltage drop of 3%, 120 volt current, or voltage, sorry, and this thing's telling me I need 16 gauge wire. So I brought you guys inside. I'm going to go grab the 16 gauge wire, all the supplies I need. We're going to loom and braid and put everything together, and then we'll talk a little bit about fittings after. Here we are. It's a bit of a rat's nest, but this is what we're looking at. I've got my wire loom, I've got my wire, and the rest of this process is maybe a little time consuming, but not difficult. The only downside is you have to order very, very large rolls to be able to do this. I guess be able to do this in a way that makes financial sense. So shameless plug here, if you guys are looking to have an outlet made, but you don't want to order all the wire, or maybe you don't want to go through this process, please check out our website. We have pre-wired outlet kits that we've already rated properly, braided, loomed, and put everything together for you. But if you're handy and you think you can take something like this on, that's what this video is for. I want to be able to show you guys exactly how we do it, so that you might be able to do this on your own at home with a couple bucks and a little bit of elbow grease. So what I'm doing here is I'm pinching and pulling the loom on. I know it looks a little strange, but this is really the only way to do it, unless you have a machine or some other contraption. And so now that I've fed on a pretty handsome chunk of this, I'm going to pull it straight. There we go. See how much wire I have left. I've got like another 15 feet here, so not going to get excited. I'm going to continue looming, and then right when I'm just about done, I will get you guys back here to show you how I do the heat shrink part. Here we are. I've almost loomed it all the way, but before I push this loom on, I got this nice, pretty straight edge here. Let's see if I can get you guys focused. Probably not, but I'm going to take my heat shrink, which here is 1/2 inch. This is 1/2 inch dual wall heat shrink. This is from, WireFi. Sorry, that's the name of the company. WireFi makes the best stuff when it comes to heat shrink, in my opinion, but I'm not an electrician, so take it with a grain of salt. The reason I'm putting it on before, it's way easier to squeeze this on without the wire in there than when you put the loom through and this loom gets all raggedy and sticks out. So I'm going to put both on. Well, really, I'm going to put the other end on first. Get this one started, the one in the front. Cool, cool. And then we're going to loom this to where we want it to land. Now on the outlet side, let's just pretend this is the outlet side, the side that's going to go to the power outlet itself. I want to have a little bit of space because I need to strip this insulation down. And I think that about there, 5 to 6 inches should be more than plenty. I'll maybe do a little bit more because my heat shrink is going to overlap. And then let's pull this loom straight. Bear with me, folks. All right, now that I pulled the loom straight, I'll push my heat shrink back up. And I like to, still not enough. Let's go back, there we go. What I like to do is have my heat shrink overlap past the loom slightly so that some of it sticks to the actual insulation. This stuff's really gonna glue on, so you don't really have to worry about it coming off. And now we have heat shrink number 2 getting in our way. Keep forgetting that. Doing this for you guys. Gotta show you the video too. And let's pull this thing through. If you're doing this on like a 50-foot cable, the friction of pulling that heat shrink might cause it to actually start to close a little bit, so be careful. And I'm gonna go through it one last time. Now that I'm confident that it's where it needs to be, I'm just gonna make sure there's tension. You see there's a little bit of slack getting pulled through here, even though I already tightened it up. I'm gonna catch it all. Okay, voila, look at that. What a beauty. So those are all those frayed ends that I'm saying are a real nightmare to get the loom over later. So that's why I like to do it first. And right there, here's the next step. We're gonna shrink it. There's 2 ways to do this. One way is really the right way. This is the right way. Use a heat gun, don't use an open flame. And then the wrong way, but also works if you're in a pinch, is a torch or a lighter. I'm gonna do both in the video, but just remember my professional recommendation, don't use a lighter, try to use the heat gun. As you can see, that took a little bit of time. Now, let's show you the way that is not recommended. And you're adults, you can decide whichever way you wanna do it. I'm not gonna stop you. I certainly won't chase you down, but this way is quite a bit faster. You know, it's hard to argue to use the heat gun. Well, granted, we have a really bad heat gun. There's really nice ones you can buy specifically for electrical that do a better job, but there you go, all done with the lighter. I'm gonna get any little loose spots, but bam. Again, it's not good practice to hit open flame on wires because stuff like this could happen where you get it, come on, focus, there you go. You get little burn marks, that's not ideal. I'm gonna cut away the insulation right now anyway, so it's not the end of the world, but I just want to show you guys both sides of this. If you happen to have the tool or the finances to acquire the tool, this guy is really handy. It's a wire stripping tool. You put the wire in there. We'll get into this a little bit. I'm going to go grab a box cutter blade and we're going to take off the insulation with just a box cutter for now. Okay, here she is. The reason I say this is tricky is because you really don't want to cut in to the wire. This thing is split into thirds. It's way easier with duplex, but I kind of done this enough times to where I feel pretty confident. I'm only going to have the blade poking out the slightest bit so that I don't overcut. Then I'm going to follow that line that I think is approximately 1/3 of the way through. Very carefully. Damage my poor office manager's desk in the process. Then I can peel this, pull my cable out. I'm just gonna inspect the surrounding cables, make sure I didn't cut through the insulation. It looks good. I did a good job. Pull these guys out. You can cut this off with scissors if you have some handy. Really don't need that laying around. And there you go. We've got our cables kind of ready to go. Here's what I wanted to show you with this wire stripper tool right here. You put the wire inside the wire stripper, you squeeze, and now we've got a beautifully, come on. Man, the focus is always really hard to tackle with this one. A beautifully stripped end. So I'm going to do this for all three, and then we're good to go. Now, I know that I need spades on one end. It's not going to be this end, so I may have jumped the gun here. I'm going to leave these exposed because these are going to go into terminals. They're going to get some ferrules. I'll explain those in a little bit. But on the other side, we are going to do the spades. So just to keep this video short, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this, and then I'll get you guys back in here in a sec. Next are our spade connectors. We're going to slide it over the wire, get it in there nice and snug, grab our crimpers, and crush. I know this may seem redundant. I like to do it twice. Give it the old pull test. If it doesn't come off, you should be good to go. If it does move slightly, start it over. Just play it safe. Break the thing off. Put a fresh one on. You know, it wouldn't hurt. You want maximum contact here. So if you have bad contact, that could cause you some problems later on. All right, moving on to the last one here. There we go. All right, awesome. Now we're going to heat shrink these guys and get to work on the outlet. Next pieces of the pie are going to be the outlet box. This is kind of a conduit box, excuse me, from Carlin. It's UL rated. I don't know what UL means, but it means it's good. Just kidding. It's like a safety standard they use. I think probably for trade or something. But anyway, here it is. I'm going to pop open any of these four little head levers on the back here. A little extra violence is always encouraged. And then we can very gently put our cables through the hole, because that's where we need them. And now we're in business, folks. I have my cables through. I really like to pull it pretty long ways through, because the more real estate you have to work with, the better. And then here's the outlet we're using. If you're curious, this is just a generic GFCI protected outlet. Why GFCI? Well, if you're working in a home, it is mandatory for you to use GFCIs anywhere near water. This is going to be near the sink, in our kitchen cabinet, and we're going to treat it as if it's a home, and we're going to be extra safe. As part of our own policy, we put GFCIs on everything, regardless of where it is in the van, just to be safe. Again, this guy's really cool because if you had another outlet you wanted to chain to this, it's got the ability to kind of daisy chain. So you got two hots, two neutrals, and you can obviously pair up on the ground. No more than two on the ground. You don't want to do more than two per lug or two per terminal or what have you. And then these are already unscrewed. Wow. All right. So general rule of thumb is gold. The gold screw, you'll notice there's a green screw. There's a green screw, a silver screw, and a gold screw. Gold is almost always the black wire or the hot wire. So let's go ahead and put that spade in. Tighten this guy down first. Voila. Awesome. The next one is going to be our neutral. That is going to be the silver wire on the other side. They're usually spaced opposite one another. I'm going to keep trying to get you guys in frame for this best I can. There we go. You want a really good contact here, so don't skimp around with tightening. Make sure alignment's good. And then, of course, last but not least, the infamous green ground cable. We're going to put this guy in last. Notice I'm working on this outside of the van where it's not hot. You don't want to work on hot wires. Another little disclaimer, I'm not an electrician. I'm not a professional electrical engineer. I get good advice and learn from the pros, but I'm not a pro myself. So please take everything you see here with a grain of salt. If you feel like tackling a project like this, do a little research, be safe, or hire a professional or certified or bonded electrician to do it for you. Now that I got the disclaimer out the way, let's pull this back through. We're going to mount it just to the box itself and leave it there, and then we'll hop in the van and talk to you guys about routing wires. Okay, folks, so that just about wraps up part one of this two-part video series on running an outlet. You would think that adding an outlet doesn't deserve two videos. It doesn't, but gosh, what a process. Thank you again for watching it to the end. Again, I've made many comments about our Facebook page. Feel free to join our YT25 if you want to buy an outlet kit for yourself. But stay tuned for part two here in a little bit. And as always, happy building.